Hey everybody, welcome to G for G on YouTube. I'm Napalm Dawn. Today we're talking about What If within Marvel Strike Force. And for this episode of What If, we're talking about what if Blade was in Marvel Strike Force. And you might be thinking, dude, Blade? Where did you pull Blade out of? Nobody's really talking about Blade anymore, although I think there is maybe potentially some rumors that Wesley Snipes is doing something with Blade again. I don't really know how true they are or how real they are. I haven't looked at it in a while, but I thought I heard a little bird mention something. So the answer of why am I thinking of Blade within Marvel Strike Force is due to the fact that I kind of was thinking about um, the old Spec Ops in Marvel Avengers Alliance, and there was a Halloween Spec Ops with Blade and Morbius, and we've had other Halloween related ones. I believe Ghost Rider was part of it. So my mind went over to Blade, and I just started thinking, how awesome would it be to have Blade in Marvel Strike Force? Because I have an idea what I would do for abilities and such, and who he would be good with, and who he enables to get better. And if you watch my last video with the tier list, there are definitely characters that are considered better when they're teamed up with certain people or you build a team around them. So a little bit of history. Here is how Blade was represented in Marvel Avengers Alliance. He was a scrapper, reasonable health, stamina, good attack, defense, very good accuracy, pretty good evasion. He had a passive of danger sense, chance to dodge attacks from bleeding attackers, Daywalker, he was immune to mind control disoriented, and Vampire Hunter, where he would stun vampires, and a chance to assist when an ally attacks or is attacked. And then he had some ISOs that did a few things, including the Strident ISO, which gave him All-Nighter. He gains his Quickening at the start of combat, which was used for Bloodlust. And actually, there was a time period where I think it was Spitfire and Blade were just hellaciously overpowered to the fact that Playdom had to nerf that combination for a little bit. And the Lambent augmented ISO 8, which adds Lambent to his Bleeding Edge, which is level 1, and says that it was magic and ethereal, which means it could hit phase people and people who could only be hit by magic attacks, and it changes the bleeding to internal bleeding, which is unremovable. And he has a team-up bonus. The one that I want to highlight is Bloodlust, heroes with attacks that cause bleeding. In Marvel Future Fight, he's represented like this, along with a 70s classic outfit. And he's combat within Marvel Future Fight. He has a leadership of applying recovery to hit points for 10 seconds every 30 seconds. His crowd control time goes down. He has some skill damage. He has some small AoEs and dashes. There's a pushback added over there. There's a bleed over here, which is what you would expect. And then there is a hemorrhage, which in Marvel Avengers Alliance terms would have meant you would proc a blade hit point reduction, or a bleeding hit point reduction. So, here is some notes that I saved for myself while I was at work today, and I was thinking about this, and I wanted to discuss my idea for Blade within Marvel Strike Force. The theme for him, obviously, like you would expect, is bleeds. We don't have vampires in this game, so that's not really what we're going to get into too much over here, but we are going to go ahead and talk about mostly bleed related abilities, but still keep his vampire related flavor. First of all, I think he would make a great profile character here. I think we could very, very much imagine a very good Blade head over here, reminiscent of like this, super zoomed in. This would be a good representation of him, but I think this one is a little bit more Wesley Snipes-ish. And I think if they made a head profile shot pretty similar to this, or how he looks there, it would be great. So, first off, for categories, I would call him Hero, Brawler, Mystic, and Well, I think Mystic would be a very good idea for him on that one, simply because of his way of kind of working with the occult, really. Um, yeah, let me just double check that I've got them all. So healer, mystic, skill, brawler, and street. That's the other one, or maybe skill is the same level as street. I gotta check on that one. Is Electra street? No, mystic, brawler, hand. Yeah, I don't know what his category would be. Like, I get there's hand, there's aim, there's mutants and everything. I'm not too sure what his category could be, but hero, mystic would be there, brawler. Yeah. Somebody who knows his comics better than me would have to know if he fits in with any other groups over there. Okay, well, he was part of the Mighty Avengers, so maybe you could add him to Avengers over there. That could be a possibility. I don't know how outside it is to call Blade an Avenger, but Jessica Street, if I remember correctly, Jessica might shed some light on what I'm... Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm looking at only brawlers. My bad. Where are you, Jessica? You are down near the bottom because I think you are awful. Hero City. City, that's... Okay, yeah. So I would consider him Hero, City, Mystic, Brawler, Avenger. That'd probably be the best way to categorize him. So, his first skill I would call Bloodletting Slice. Causes bleed. As you level it up, it has an escalating chance to cause a bleed, so I would say it would start pretty high, because that's really his raison d'etre here, his reason for being. So start at 80, and as you level it up, it goes up to obviously 100, but then you also intersperse there, give him a chance to throw a stake at a nearby enemy for moderate damage, but not causing a bleed, because I think that'd be a little bit overpowered. So I kind of was thinking of Bleeding Edge a little bit. I had that in mind, and the fact that you had high stakes. So I was kind of combining that into one ability. You could make a case that maybe throwing the stake would result in a bleed and everything, or if there was hemorrhaging in the game, that if he threw a stake at a bleeding enemy, that the person would take a bleed hit right there. But I think this is a good base. His skill 2 would be called Ampule. Heals for a moderate amount, and you have an escalating heal based on bleeds that are out on the field. So one of the first things would bump up his bleeds based on how many bleeds are on the enemy team. But then he will start bumping up his ampule healing based on how many bleeds might be on your teammates. And higher up in the skill set, he has a chance to gain an offense up when he uses ampule. I think that's pretty well represented in some of the movies. I have, like, Blade 1 in mind when I think of this ability. That's where that came from. Tools of the Trade hits all enemies with either a spike grenade, which causes bleeding, holy water, which causes blindness, or silver nitrate, which causes offense down and defense down. I had a little bit of a brain fart here as to thinking what could potentially be added to this as this skill is escalated. Raw damage seems possible, but seems boring. Maybe potentially you increase the chance of somebody being hit by 2 of the abilities, like maybe as you skill it up, there's 10, 20, 30, 40% chance of being hit by 2 of them, so maybe the bleeding and the holy water, or the holy water and the silver nitrate. I just kind of have a brain fart there. I don't really know how to escalate that skill other than those 2 ideas, so if you've got any, by all means, I definitely want to hear it. And a chance to assist, so his passive would be a chance to assist on any brawler's attack. similar to Kamala Khan. Increased chance to assist on an attack that causes bleeding, and then as you skill that up, you escalate the assist chance and a chance to gain regen per stack of bleed on an enemy or teammate. So, clearly what I'm doing here with Blade is I'm setting him up to not only work with brawlers, but also to really increase the effectiveness of other bleeders. And when I talk about that, I have in mind, of course, Black Panther and Wolverine. Wolverine, if you saw the last video I did, he is a middle of the pack person in terms of tier. But you have a bleed on a crit, you have a bleed on a crit and bleed on a crit, and you have bleed on a crit. So I think he's going to work really, really well with Wolverine, with Wolverine's own reliance on crits, keeping things in check. So I don't think it'll take Blade and put him off the charts or Wolverine off the charts, because Wolverine has to crit in order to cause the bleed. He crits well enough, but it's not a guaranteed. That's where I think Wolverine won't become ridiculously overpowered, because bleed is around. Now, if you remember, the Ravagers can cause bleed when they use their the Ravager Stitcher. The Ravager Stitcher's level 1 can cause a bleed. Now, everybody thinks of the Stitcher as the healer, but don't forget, on the Disintegrator, you have a chance to cause a bleed. And eventually, you bleed. It's a guarantee. Always apply the bleed for a turn. So that actually kind of gives the Ravager Stitcher a little bit of a bump. It's very, very common in many games, whether it be DC Comics Legends or Marvel Avengers Alliance, to actually create teams based on bleeding. Blade, I think, is the first character that enables that in the game. You have Claw Slash, no bleeding here, unfortunately. But I would rework Black Panther and I would add it. Nothing there. Panther Rush. Nothing there. It's really a shame that he doesn't do anything with bleeding over here. But I would rework him and add it. And let's not forget, Black Widow has a chance to cause bleeds when she is hitting that second ability. So she's got stealth, and then on the Widow's Bite, she stuns the primary target. Apply bleed for 2 turns. Maybe I'll pull the trigger on this upgrade. And then she has a chance to chain to targets and apply a bleed. And when she hits them, it is going to be a bleed. So if she does chain, she causes the bleed. So I think she enables some interesting team-ups. And hey, there's nothing wrong with putting Black Widow and Wolverine in on a team to work with the bleeds and everything like that. And if we rework Black Panther to cause bleeds and we introduce Blade to the game, I think we would have some really, really fun combinations there. I just wish I could get some better ideas for tools of the trade. But and again, if somebody's pulling an assist out of him, like say Miss Marvel, because Miss Marvel likes heroes and brawlers, and Blade would be that, you could use Miss Marvel to enable Blade, and then Blade enables other healers. This is the high level of thinking that was really, really good in Marvel Avengers Alliance. You could easily put a team together that could do this kind of shit in that game, because the synergy was amazing. I think Blade and characters like Miss Marvel can begin to introduce some really crazy synergy to this game if they allowed it. And I think one of the things they have to allow is the fact that Black Panther causes bleeds with his adamantium claws. He's caused bleeds in other games with those things. I think it's a miss that he's not doing it over here. But if you have Miss Marvel assisting or calling assists from people like Blade, and he gets a bleed out for free, he has that much of a chance to be better. I thought of trying to maybe do some kind of a shotgun attack as one of his abilities, potentially not an all-target, but an AoE, a limited multi-target with the shotgun. But my brain was kind of blanking out on it, and then I thought of, well, why not tools of the trade? That basically meshes in a whole bunch of stuff that he's done in the movie. Yeah, the silver nitrate in the air system was mostly Blade 3, and you don't necessarily have to credit that to Blade. It's, Ryan Reynolds who talks about it being in the air system, and then everybody starts choking. But that's where I got that idea from, was Blade 3. The holy water, or the UV light that was featured in 2 by Daryl from The Walking Dead and everything. I think this kind of represents how he's been in other games, and also represents how he's been portrayed in the movie. For the comics and everything, I admit I don't read Blade comics, so I could maybe be missing out on something really, really big that should be here. But I think this is a very, very fun kit, and I don't think it creates an overpowered nature to him. It could be a little overpowered if he's called as an assist, and he hits Bloodletting Slice, causes the bleed, and then can throw the stake. But I don't know if the game has any code for allowing a random chance on your level 1 when called as an assist. But this is fun. I think it could work in the game. I think it could work as a great October or Halloween character, and I think it helps buff up a few other people, and it could be inserted in a brawler team that apparently Miss Marvel's been enabling a lot recently. Shame Gamora doesn't cause bleeds on her sword, but that question has been in several Marvel games. There's been plenty of people that cause bleeding on sword strikes, and then you have somebody like Sif in Marvel Avengers Alliance who didn't cause bleeding, and everybody's like, why? You would think she would. She stabs people with the sword. Fandral has a foil, which is not really known as a bleeding weapon, but yet he can drop a chandelier on people and cause bleeds. So, there you go, guys. There's my idea on what if Blade was in Marvel Strike Force. It's September. We have almost 2 months to potentially make it happen, or a month and change. So, hey, Foxnet, if you're listening, Foxnext, if you're listening to this, why don't you give it a try? See you later, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the video.